Can you imagine the war breaks in your country and you run to the neighboring countries to look for peace and stability? You stay in a foreign country until you give birth to the next generations of children and even grandchildren. But this whole time, you have been depending on foreign aid, specifically humanitarian assistance for your survival, from medicine, clothing, food, and even all other needs that you may need as a human being. But unfortunately, the main donor or the person who has been sponsoring all this withdraws their sponsorship, and now you are left with nothing. Remember, psychologically, they have created as what we call a dependency syndrome. And because the host country has not even repatriated you, has not given you IDs, you can't get any form of employment, and therefore you have been depending on foreign aid for survival. So it becomes a challenge, and the question rises, if there was a goodwill for you to be helped, why is it that this whole time, for almost 30 years, there haven't been proper structures to ensure that you live a sustainable life? Why is it difficult for these people to be integrated into the country and become Kenyan citizens? Remember, we have people like Somalis who have already been integrated and they are Kenyan citizens. But now, we only have two solutions for this to happen. One is to make sure that there is peace and stability in their countries so that they can be repatriated back to their countries. And two, these people can be integrated into the host countries so that they become the citizens of those countries and they can live harmony with others. But here is a challenge. Some of them, or most of them, feel that they will lose their roots and culture, and therefore they need to be repatriated back to their countries. Or others want to continue depending on humanitarian assistance because they don't want to be integrated as citizens of those countries, and that poses a challenge. And I'm gonna leave you with your question: what do you think is the best solution for this situation? Because it's getting worse every day as days goes by. So make sure that you subscribe on this channel. This is Real West Kid, the Real West Kid in town. How wengine ni fake.
Many people are protesting, especially refugees, so there is no food and water in our community. As you can see, the crowd, watu wako wengi, so hapa Kakuma, if you have any friends, please keep on check on them, so and our families too. So if you have any support, try to support them. So for more information, so our sister anaweza tuelezea zaidi.
Wala sisi kama refugee wametunyima ades mafuta, hakuna ades. Kama mimi nanyesha kulisi kwa hakuna kitu sana, nasema hakuna ades, hakuna mafuta. Sisi kama refugee tunakaa nyumbani, hakuna chule, hakuna maji, hadi tunalipa 1,600. Mimi hakuna nataka.
Integration in simple terms, it is the situation whereby you are integrated to become a Kenyan, whereby you are given the citizenship to stay as a Kenyan. You will have to work for yourself, you provide the basic need for yourself. But the question remains is, if we are integrated to become Kenyans, we lost our identity. We come from South Sudan, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, and many other countries. So the question remains unanswered to Kenyans. Why are we forced to be integrated to become Kenyans? Yet we do not want. This is the free world. You have the idea and you have to accept either you will be integrated or not. So we say it as all the refugees who are staying in Kakuma that we don't want integration. Integration comes also in whereby we will be told that you work for yourself while the services will be provided to the refugees and they will not reach us. They will be used somewhere. Then we will be left here to start. Look at the climate in Kakuma here. It is too hot and dangerous for all the refugees. Therefore, the farming cannot take place here. If you are allowed to stay without food, where will you go? It's better we come here and we die at the UNHCR compound here than dying in our houses. That is number one. Number two is the issue of health. People are dying at the hospital on daily basis. There is lack of medicine. There is lack of trained personnel at the hospital. Therefore, we call for immediate assistance from international community to intervene and look into the problem and the affairs of the refugees. Why am I saying this one? If you look at the rate of death currently, it is increasing day by day. Why? It is being contributed by the failure of the treatment that is being given at the hospital. It's being contributed by the hunger that we are experiencing currently in the camp. I also want to emphasize about the issue of the water. It has been said that the water is the source of life. If we stay without water, where do we live? We have to die. Therefore, we need water. We have been staying for 4 days without having water. And we have been raising our issues to the concerned authority. But the question always returns is no. So if they are tired of us, then we need to be taken back to our countries so that we go and die in our own countries there. Lastly, the issue of the resettlement. We are being always asked of the money, and we don't have workplaces here. None of us is working. And those who are teaching here, they are only given $70. $70 cannot even take you up to 1 month. And those who are working are very few. Yet Kenyans are given $600, $700. It is not discrimination. And we are all human beings. If we are human beings, we need equal distribution of resources. We need equal treatment of all the people in the camp. Therefore, we call for UNHCR to intervene and look into our affairs. Lastly, I want to call for all people who are online to look into this.
If we can bring peace to Kakuma, we can definitely bring peace to the world. Imagine for a moment living for years without a true sense of home. Imagine you have limited access to such basic needs as clean water, education, and healthcare. This has been my reality for the past 16 years. Since I was 13 years old, I have been living in Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya, in a house made of mud. In truth, Kakuma is more of a city than a camp, because it is home to 250,000 refugees and asylum seekers. Kakuma was set up after 20,000 children fled the Second Sudanese Civil War in 1992. Since then, the refugees have kept coming. Life in this camp is a daily battle. While the physical conflict might have been left behind, the psychological and emotional scars remain. In Kakuma today, refugees are from at least 8 different war-torn African countries. We live together, each carrying our own stories of loss and pain. But in such a diverse environment, conflict can arise from differences in culture, background, and limited resources. I remember a wave of clash in 2014 within the camp that left several people dead. My country, South Sudan, has witnessed over 2 million people driven out by conflict, contributing to the staggering 35 million worldwide. As a 13-year-old child, I witnessed the devastating consequences of conflict. Violence and fear torn through our communities, uprooting families and forcing us to flee our homes. For 2 weeks, I walked through bush with strangers as a lone child after being separated from my family. And to survive, I was eating any fruit, even the most bitter. Many people fell down, exhausted, and died in the bush from starvation. I could not sleep for fear of being left behind.